Hello, this is David Solomon, and today we're here to talk about the new HiFi Rose RS451. It's got all kinds of cool features, and we're going to go over a few. One of the really cool things about this particular piece is I've been able to play with it for about the last 3 or 4 weeks and actually have it at my system, in my system at home. So I'm using the Rose as a multi-function component. So it's not only my streamer, it's also my USB DAC for my computer. It just does some really, really cool user features. The first would be the touch screen in the front. Honestly, I don't use the touchscreen a lot, but it is a very, very cool feature. If you want to do anything with the Rose, you can either do it from the remote control that you download from the App Store, or just come straight to the front panel and you can start pushing buttons. The first thing is the in and out settings, and you basically tell the Rose which output you want to use. You want to use XLR output so that you have balance, or you can use single-ended output. It also gives you all of the input features. So if you're using a USB in, you choose that. If you're using HDMI, you use that. So it'll just give you basically all of your in and out settings at just the touch of a button. Anytime you want to go back to the home page of the Rose, you just press the little Rose in the upper right-hand corner and you go back. The next feature this one has that a lot of units don't have is that you can actually play a CD. Now, in order to do this, you'll need to get a CD-ROM that you would hook up to the USB input on the back, and then you can play CDs. Another really cool thing about this unit is that it not only plays CDs back, but more importantly, there's a lot of people that want to rip their CD collection. You could actually rip your CD collection right into the Rose hard drive. There's an optional 1, 2, or 4 terabyte hard drive that just fits right into the bottom of the Rose. So if you're one that wants to rip some of your CD collection, have a great time at it. My personal recommendation is that you start ripping CDs that you really can't get on streaming services. Most of the streaming services have got multiple copies of probably most everything that you've got. And unless you're just wanting to do this for a hobby, there's really no reason to do it. The next thing that this has got is, of course, all of your streaming services, Tidal, Qobuz, Spotify. It's got them. It's got them all. My preference is Qobuz, and with Qobuz and Tidal and Spotify, you can use the Connect feature. So with Connect, you basically open up Qobuz, Tidal, or Spotify, and from the app, you can control everything that the HiFi Rose plays. It's a really, really cool feature. And it allows you to use the same streaming app regardless of brand name. However, Rose is a good partner with all three of those companies. Those are the only three that do connect. I'm on Qobuz right now, basically, and if I wanted to, I could just choose anything from Qobuz playlist, their ideal discography, press awards, top releases, Qobuzameme, and then also, of course, I've got my own personal, my playlist, my favorites, my purchases, my settings. So everything that you could do from the front panel, you can also do from the remote control, which is what you're going to be using probably 90% of the time. There's also a Rose radio, which is really cool. In the Rose radio, you can pick out different kinds of genres, and it'll just play for you. A lot of people like to, really pick out every single thing that they listen to. But what if you're just in the mood for, a jazz mix on a Saturday afternoon and you really don't want to pick that out? Well, these guys have got it done for you. Now, of course, most of the streaming services have the same kind of thing, but I think it's really cool and foresightful for Rose to be able to add this feature in there. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe below, and you'll see more videos like this. One of my favorite features of the HiFi Rose is RoseTube. Uh, it may be hard to believe, but people listen to music on YouTube more than any other service by tons. YouTube is absolutely number one as far as music consumption, but it's typically on your phone or on your computer. Rose has got a feature that if you pick something out, if you pick out a particular piece of music, it will go on YouTube and it will not just find that piece of music, it's going to find the highest resolution of that particular piece of music. If you're like me and you're a musician, I'm telling you, if you're a musician, this is the only unit to have, because you can run a monitor over to your playing station and bring up RoseTube. Now, with me, the last thing that I brought up based on a recommendation from a friend was John Bonham's Fool in the Rain. And this is an isolated drum track because I wanted to learn how to play Fool in the Rain as good as John Bonham on Fool in the Rain. No, I can't really, but at least I know how it's done. So if you're a musician, if your kids are musicians, and YouTube is such a great it's such a great way to learn how to play anything that you want to play. If you're playing guitar and you want to learn how to play a particular piece, you can find a video on YouTube, or in this case, RoseTube, that will teach you how to play almost anything. You want to play the kazoo the right way. Whatever you want to play, YouTube's going to have a video on it. All right, this next feature, it's really gonna not add a lot to the experience, but it is such a cool little piece. Uh, every streamer has got a clock built into it, but the HiFi Rose clock is quite unique and it looks really, really cool. My very favorite one when you hit the clock is the Nixie clock. It's a simulation of the real Nixie clock where they're using tubes to show you the different times, but it's got different clocks on it as well. So you can kind of go through it and pick out your very favorite one, but it's a really, really cool little feature. Another visual enhancement of the 451, and really this is on all the Rose stuff, is the VU meter. It's really just for visuals. It just is fun to look at, but you could just, once you're playing music, you can just hit the VU meter and of course change to any you would like. The next is something that is really quite a bit more functional, and there's an actual digital or DSP EQ straight on board. So you can hit the EQ right beside the VU meter, and it brings up 5 bands of equalization. Typically people, if you have a bass problem in your room to where it sounds kind of muddy, that's usually somewhere around 180 to about 300 cycles. They've got a 250, 230 slide here that you can go up and down up to 10 decibels. All of the frequencies are like that. The other frequency that people tend to have a problem with is around 3.5K. That's the upper end of voices, where the bottom end of cymbals. Sometimes this can be a little bit harsh, and if so, you can just drag the 3.5 down a little bit. Consequently, if your room is muddy and it needs a little bit more upper mid-range and high end, of course, you just can change it straight here. It's a really, really cool piece, and it's very functional for rooms that may be lacking or have a little bit too much frequency information in some levels. So the 451 has also got an incredible headphone section. It's got balanced and unbalanced. So you got a standard set of single-ended headphones. Of course, you can just plug them in here. I'm using the LCDX by Odyssey here, which are really quite difficult to drive, or can be. No problem with the 451. Even better still, if you've got a set of balanced headphones, which these double as either, you can take the DIN balanced input and right there, fits fine. It's also got a small balanced input as well for some of the IEMs. Terrific headphone output, and you know, a lot of people really have gotten into headphones these days. If you are, once again, here's another great piece. It's a lot of products built into one. So let's talk about some of the inputs on the back of the 451. Very necessary input is the output for HDMI. So if you're using RoseTube, you'll of course need the HDMI to project the image on your screen. Next up, this little guy. This is a wireless antenna for Wi-Fi. You push this guy in and it's gonna make your remote control work a lot better. Here's the cool thing with this antenna. Most of the time, if you've got a pretty decent, say, mesh network or good signal, you should be able to get 24/192 resolution. However, if you really want to make it absolutely bulletproof, there's also an Ethernet input. I absolutely recommend using Ethernet if you possibly can with high resolution audio. You're guaranteed really not to ever skip. The bandwidth should stay strong enough that your signal is strong. So we had already mentioned that I'm using the 451 at home as my pretty much centerpiece to the system on my desktop. So in order to hook it up to my computer, it does have a USB input. So I can really listen to anything, conference calls, music, anything that's coming through the audio of my computer system. My desktop system is actually coming through a really nice pair of speakers. There's a couple of different outputs. There's RCA output. So if you just wanted to run this straight into your preamplifier single-ended, no problem. It's also got a couple of balanced outputs as well. Now, of course, balance is going to give you about a 6 dB gain on every connection. So the more gain, the less distortion, the more dynamic. It's a really great output. This is how I'm using mine at home. So a couple of really handy features on the Rose is it's got coax in and out, and also optical in and out. Optical has really improved over the last few years, and you can actually get 24/192 resolution from optical. It used to be cut off at about 96. The other couple of features right next to where you plug in the antenna, there's a couple of extra USBs here that can be used for a number of things. I would recommend probably if you're ripping, that's where your CD-ROM goes. So this has been the HiFi Rose RS451. Thanks for watching and hope to see you next time.